Good evening and welcome to the Mage venue in the living world of darkness, Magic from the Ashes? Mage from the Ashes. And we have tonight a scene between, well, two people in the Chantry who do not always get along and, well, not always get along, but, I don't know. We'll see if today is an exception. As we have Julie seemingly doing yoga in the middle of the common room.
Nausicaa walks into the kind of comes into the common room. She has this big bundle of papers in her arms, and she sees that Julie has moved some of the tables to the side and is yogaing. Nausicaa kind of stops, scowls, and then basically just kind of walks past Julie and spreads out her papers onto a couple of the tables that she pulls together. And basically begins kind of scrawling on them, literally like 2 tables worth of like notes and sheets and various things that Nausicaa seems to be cross-referencing and trying to visualize. And sometimes she moves some of the sheets and even moves them sideways or looks at them upside down. And occasionally she just looks over to Julie, who's posing in various yoga styles, and just has a kind of has the Nausicaa face on, kind of scowly, grumpy.
And Julie will just kind of, she'll finish. She's doing several greetings to the sun, it's called, and fairly some not too complex things. And when she's done, she'll just sit for a couple of minutes just collecting herself, and then she'll stretch a little bit more, and she'll look over and just say, "Oh, good afternoon, Nausicaa. So, how are you doing?"
Nausicaa just kind of looks up from what she's doing, looks at Julie. And just goes back. I'm busy.
Busy doing what?
Do you have a degree in quantum mathematics or perhaps theoretical physics?
I think you know the answer to that question.
Then it would be pointless trying to explain it to you.
Okay. She goes over to one of those cupboards and finds there's a bunch of apples and fruits. And there are also some junk food. And she gets an apple, just washes it or just rubs it, just washes it a little, takes a bite, goes over. And she sits down, not too far from her, and just look at her and just, I know what you're doing is important. That's totally fine. But do you think you have a couple of moments to talk about something not related to that?
Again, Nausicaa looks kind of annoyed. Fills in some final scribbles and says, "If you're going to insist, I believe I don't have a choice."
Okay, and look, I've never tried to bully you because we need to be able to work together, and that was never my intention. You might see it as such. I understand. And I really feel really bad. If I'd known how exactly you feel it and how exactly you felt in those situations and how you see well, things, I would never have done it, or I've made sure. But you do realize that when friends are friends, they kind of make fun of each other just because they're friends, and not to bully anyone, not to, they just make jokes to each other because it's funny and because it's out of love. You do realize that, right? You've heard of practical jokes, right? That's not made to bully or demean someone. It's made to lighten the mood or have fun together.
You see Noska kind of like clearly kind of prepare for kind of to snap at Julie about something, and then she just kind of deflates a little. If you didn't intend to be cruel, then I understand that it lessens the impact. And to answer your question, you saw my childhood when Ava hypnotized me. I
Yeah,
never had any friends.
which sucks.
You don't miss what you never had.
You might if you understood what it meant.
Nausicaa's kind of like, yeah, like basically like looking down, kind of not making eye contact.
Look, you saved me. Saved a lot of other people. You've done it again. We've done it together. If you do it for your own benefit, that's fine. I mean, I'm happy either way, but look, we're going to work together if all of us wants to survive, right? So, if that's the case, then we need to be able to trust each other. But we also need to be able to be real with each other. And that involves accepting apologies and accepting when someone is sorry. And realizing that sometimes people make mistakes. Some people are not perfect, and people make mistakes. We have to move on from that.
It has been brought to my attention that I can be defensive or prickly, or even just rude. And I don't like it, you know? I don't like talking to people like that.
But it's the way you've defended yourself for, well, most of your life, right? If you're snappy at people, they keep their distance.
You can see Nausicaa's ears turn red, and yeah, she's just kind of like examining the tips of her shoes. She just kind of shrugs non-committally.
If you don't let them close enough, they can't hurt you, right? That sort of thing. Well, I did pretty much the same thing. I mean, I've had a lot of friends, but most of them we did drugs together, and, well, it wasn't really what I would call committed for a long-term thing. It was more like, hey, let's just not be very personal or say a lot of things that would get each other close to each other. So I kind of understand where you're coming from. Don't get me wrong, but
All he was saying is Nausicaa's head was kind of like kind of cocked while she was listening to that. She'll kind of nod. I
you know,
don't like that you do drugs, but I'll I'll start making comments about it. It's not nice for me to
I mean,
be
you know,
judgmental.
actually, she smiles at Nausicaa, and just look. Instead of that, try next time there's other people around. Just say like something like, "When I say what, I didn't hear you," or "zone out," and just say something like, "And the weed strikes again," or uh, "I've heard that weed impairs your hearing," or something like that. I would be totally okay with that. It's a joke. It's fine. It's fine.
You actually see Nausicaa kind of like scribbles down both those phrases on the bottom of one of the pieces of paper, like
You know,
word for word.
like, and that's the sort of thing I'm talking about. Like that's a funny gesture to a person that's somewhat close to you, and that's totally fine. I wouldn't see that as mocking. I would actually see it's quite funny, but she kind of shrugs. So it's like you can say something like that instead of just. I mean, you got an enormous vocabulary and you know a lot of stuff. Like God only knows how many degrees you have, but like, yeah, like sometimes instead of being direct, just be a little bit, say it a bit different. And hey, I mean, for anything, like if you really unload some of the language you could probably do in a very scientific manner, you could say about anything about me, and I wouldn't know what the hell you're talking about. Try it. Like, what's important is that look, I was so happy when you laughed. I I didn't mean to hurt you or anything. I just felt it like a relief that you were seeming to having fun, but yeah, I just thought that was a good thing. You don't smile, you don't laugh a lot, and I think that's a shame. Like, that's it.
Laughter is a form of loss of control.
But it feels really good.
I do laugh when I'm on my own. And I don't know. I just find the idea of losing control in public makes me very anxious to the point of cold sweats and
That makes you avoid it. So if you ever lose control in public, you're really, really in the thick of it. If you want to avoid, well, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying anything for certain or anything. Just let that be known right up front. But like, if you're deadly afraid of losing control in public, privately, anywhere, you're not going to be able to evade it forever. Wouldn't it be better to just have a bit of an idea of what to do when it happens instead of just avoiding it like the plague? Wouldn't it be a good idea to maybe have contingency plans if you have, I mean, considering what we can do and some of the stuff, weird shit that's going on around us, it's probably a little more likely that we're going to lose control publicly in some way.
there's a kind of non-committal shrug again. I would prefer not to lose control in public.
Me neither. I wouldn't like to do that. I would prefer that as well. But, well, I would also prefer not to be hunted by, well, the technocracy. The fact that I would prefer it doesn't mean that it's not happening.
Maybe. Nausicaa looks like she's like kind of either like plucking up the courage to say something or just kind of thinking of how to word something.
Julie will give her time. She'll just sit there and smile. She's sitting in a lotus position, like you would when you're meditating or something. She's just sitting on the couch, legs folded, and just waiting.
I would prefer that we didn't argue and fight.
I agree. I wouldn't want to fight and argue. I mean, sometimes you have to argue, like, calmly, of course, about what to do and what plan we should follow and stuff like that. I mean, you can't really avoid that, but, outright fighting, I agree with you. I would want that to not happen, but, well, if you ask my opinion. When
I also not only want to say that I'm sorry for shooting you, but I also regret doing it. I'm very glad that I did not hurt you.
Julie just kind of looks at her and smile grows a bit. Just, um, thank you. And she will go over very slowly, get closer, and lean in for a hug, but she won't force it. She'll just try.
As she's coming over, Nausicaa looks more and more terrified, and when she leans in, Nausicaa just leans back.
It's a hug. You've seen it before in movies, right?
I know what a hug is. I'm just not comfortable with that level of personal contact.
People do it all the time. It's not going to hurt.
I know it's not going to hurt. I'm just not comfortable with it.
Okay. Let's try this. And Julie will just step a little closer, put her arms just around her shoulders, and she will just.
No, Nausicaa's just not remotely happy with this.
Julie
Sorry.
No, but Julie would just say, "All right, okay, that's fine. We'll save it for another time." You're missing out, but okay.
Maybe. So, in the spirit of cooperation, and without being accusatory as I was before, you should talk to Elijah. You may not think it's valid, but he feels like he was belittled and undermined. I'm sure a simple conversation.
The reason I called it his B thing is because I have no idea what to call it.
You don't have to explain this to me. I honestly believe that you never intended to put him down, but you should say this to him.
Okay, I get it. But it's like I could stand there for 10 minutes and, well, yeah, I'll talk to him.
Nausicaa just nods. I saw you have been going for runs with Lee.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Um,
Doesn't it make you tired?
oh, kind of, but well, I've been, my well, smoking and all that doesn't help, but meditation helps a little, and she yawns actually at that.
As
But
as you say that, Nausicaa scrabbles for the bit of paper and looks down at it and says, "The weed strikes again," and just looks at Julie like completely deadpan.
yeah, see, there we go, there we go. Yeah, you can say that. Like that's at least like you know, that's delivery leaves a little bit of work, but yeah. See,
If you
it's
are
not.
to return this with me, I believe it is called banter or friendly ribbing.
Mhm.
Please don't call me a robot. I'm sensitive about this. For a long
I
time.
won't. I won't.
I don't mind if you say I have. I know my hair looks a bit stupid. I don't mind if you can say that.
I'm not gonna
Or
call you Baldy.
I would also prefer it if you don't call me a boy like Boris does. I'm not a
No, no,
boy.
no. I would. Well, see, when I would call you the antithesis of human emotion, that would be an obvious joke because you don't show a lot of emotion. But it's not a riff on you. That's just friendly banter.
Nausicaa nods, and you can see that her hand twitches towards the pencil, like she wants to write this down, but she doesn't. Okay, I'll remember that.
Like something like that. But yeah, like, but no robot jokes. I got it.
Well, maybe not yet.
Oh, we'll work on it. It's fine.
Also, thank you for being nice to Ava. She is not feeling very good right now. I'm worried about her mental health.
I know. She did something to me, but I had no idea what happened afterwards. So I'm trying, but yeah, she's not in a good place.
You were right. She should not have used her powers on you. I think
That's
we should make this one of the rules. But she was under a lot of duress, and
I don't know. That torque was obviously powerful. I'm not entirely sure she was in control, so honestly, I shouldn't be that mad. But I explicitly told her not to take it on and then go near water, and
also the manner in which you asked for an apology was very insensitive.
I had a couple of things on my mind. I was a little bitchy at that point. I will admit.
I'm often what you might call bitchy, but
Hey, sometimes it gets shit done. I'm not arguing.
Nausicaa just nods. Would you really like to hear what I'm trying to work on?
As you probably said, I'm not going to understand a lot of it, but well,
I can
from what
explain.
you,
I can
from what,
explain it in layman terms.
but can I? Well, it's something about recognizing patterns through math in pretty much everything we do, right?
Interestingly, although that is one of my main areas that I work on, this is not that. I'm studying what I believe to be the sphere of forces. This is the manipulation of the forces that exist in the universe, essentially the practical to my theoretical. And I believe that there is a way, although I may need greater tutelage to be able to fully apply it, that I may be able to. I don't know what to call it, but so far I'm calling it enunciated formula. Essentially, I believe that Magic is an application of our will as mages, correct? And we channel this through things we understand and are capable with. For example, you and Caleb use your spiritual aspects in yoga. I use my understanding of science. Ava uses her literature. So essentially, it's like training wheels on a bike. The power comes from us. We are just channeling it through something. And she kind of looks to Julie for acknowledgement.
She nods. This seems somewhat like thoughtful, or she seems very thoughtful, but she's also clear that she's looking at Nausicaa and just.
In these papers, I theorize that through what I'm going to call enunciated mathematics and sympathetic formula, I could potentially be able to more directly command and direct the principles. For example, an enunciated mathematical formula may allow me to cause and effect. So far, as I'm sure you're aware, most of my magic that I have been able to apply has been very not magical. That is a lot of coincidence and behind the scenes manipulation, but I theorize that with a more overt tool to focus it through, I may be able to produce more overt effects. For example, with this formula, and she shows you like a ream of papers, and essentially like at the bottom there's like a single kind of like maybe like less than a dozen digit formula. By enunciating this, I believe that I may be able to reverse gravity. Or cause an item to accelerate.
Cool.
It will take a lot of practice, but she just shrugs. And here, if I work out the formula for something and then make changes to it, I believe through focusing my will through this, I would be able to enact these changes upon it. For example, if there is a door and I work out its dimensions, its mass, its properties, its weight, its gravitational pull, then by altering the formula, I could alter the door, similar to the mystic practice of voodoo, but through formulas rather than straw dolls.
That's quite cool. It's not what I do when I do things, but yeah.
I'm doing this in an attempt to. Next time we meet up with technocratic agents, I would prefer to be more capable.
Well,
and I believe being able to reverse gravity in a localized area would be very helpful in fighting them.
Oh yeah. I still need to work on stuff. I'm okay at driving, but I can't say I've found a lot of other stuff I can do, really.
You will. I have not been very sympathetic, and I have pointed out your shortcomings before yesterday. This was unnecessarily cruel. My main motivation for this was to hurt your feelings.
You were angry with me, right?
I was.
But we're better now?
I believe it would not be profitable for us to continue some kind of feud over inconsequential matters. It would be illogical and unproductive. So yes, we can be good.
Super.
I talked to the new girl today, and I think, at least in some modicum, we can potentially trust her.
Well, honestly, she's about as lost as we were in the beginning, so I mean, that's a fairly good sign, unless, of course, she's very, very good at hiding it, but I don't think that's the case.
She has promised that she will take the same steps the rest of us have to conceal our location and provide security for each other as a collective. In return, she wants part of her life back, and previously she worked as a counselor in a women's shelter. So I have said that ICM will make a tax-deductible contribution, a grant, so she may be able to continue working as this under her new alter ego.
That's really good.
I believe it will mean she will be in a good mental state, which means she will be able to dedicate time and effort to learning her magic and benefit the collective as a whole, and thereby myself directly.
See, this is one of the things. While it might be for if I can give you a piece of advice, right, for for bettering the collective, and when we talk to each other, if you skip the part that it's going to benefit you and that's why you're doing it, whether or not it is, or there's other motivations, or you actually want to help others, just skip the part. Just don't mention the part that you're doing this for yourself. That kind of turns people off. It might be true, but
It is true.
yeah, but the thing is, people see that as selfish and cold, and
So I should lie. I don't like lying. I'm not very good at
just
it.
don't mention it. Like, I will do this, this, and this. Is this acceptable?
But what if they construe the wrong meaning from it? And they believe that I am doing this for a sense of altruism, and this is what they come to expect from me.
Well, what they believe, why would that matter to you?
Because in the future they may expect me to act out of this sense of altruism, and then they will not believe me consistent when I do not. You can actually pay an Nausicaa at this point if you'd like. In fact, my dice pool is so retardedly bad for lying. You actually get the feeling that this is a lot of self-justification from Nausicaa, and it's probably not entirely true.
Well, from what I know, people who get good things done to them, when someone just smiles to them and says, I'll help you with this, helps them, explains to them what they're going to do to help them, and then does it, don't explain why they do it, and they first and foremost appreciate it. And they might, when you're doing it out of your own volition, I've met very, very few people of sound mind who would then be pissed off that you don't help them again. Now, I think it's much more likely that they will come to you and ask for help again if they need help. And then you'll be saying, then you could say, well, I don't have the means or the time or the opportunity to do so. at this moment, I'm sorry. That will be, for most people who are worth your time and, well, efforts, enough. If someone gets mad at you because you don't help them, just because you did it before, well, honestly, those people aren't worth your time, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. Like, you help someone, and then they appreciate it and are happy about it. That's someone who receives help. That's like, you show appreciation, of course, but you can't really expect anything else unless you're weird, but or an asshole.
Nosuke this whole time is just kind of, just kind of looking at her feet.
I mean, again, my thing, if someone expects you to be altruistic again and then berates you for it, those people, you can tell them to take a hike, fuck off. Yeah, pretty much. But I don't think a lot of people would do that, honestly. Luckily enough, there are actually decent people.
Nosuke just shrugs. Well,
But, like, I'm not telling you to lie. I'm just saying, when you say, like, well, I can see you're in a bit of a problem, so I will do this, this, and this. This should help the situation. Or this should help you do the thing you want to do. And then just end it there. Just you don't need to say anything else. You don't need to, like, you could say, this will benefit me because this isn't that. Just instead of just don't say anything. Just smile and see what they say. My guess is they're going to say, thank you very much. I Can I do anything for you? Something like, well, normal people would say that. Again, you might come across the weird person. Well, yeah. I mean, some people can be in very, very different and very difficult situations where they might be panicking or something. And then they would probably act a little bit weird, but those are special situations.
do you not believe that most people's actions are non-altruistic, though?
Hmm.
For
Well,
example, Grace said that she helps people in women's shelters, and she does this because she enjoys it.
mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Is that not a selfish reason?
Well, I don't think, well, human beings, the way our minds work, honestly, I don't think any, well, maybe if you believe, I don't know, if she just shrugs. I'm not Christian, but some would say, like, very few people, like the Buddha or Jesus, or like very few people in history can be claimed to be completely altruistic. But I think it's very, very normal human nature that we're just likely to take our perception of reality and go from there. And, like, when you're at a party, the easiest thing to get people talking is talk about them. That's what we want to talk about most of the time. That's how humans work, most of them. And yeah, obviously, like, we're selfish to a certain extent, but that's, well, we need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to get food or water and air. Like, people get very, very selfish if some of those are not for them. Like hungry people will do a lot of selfish things and quite extensive things. So, in a sense, sure. But the more you got things covered and the less desperate you are and the less in direct need you are, the more you tend to help your nearest, help your children, I mean, look at how a mother and a father helps a child. I would call that fairly altruistic. A lot of children, or a lot of parents, would give their lives for their children, if need be.
This is not an evolutionary matter, though. It was to procreate, spread their genes to the next generation.
Yes, but we're talking about people, right? So, wouldn't it make sense for a father, maybe in his late 20s, if he is to sacrifice his own life to save his one child, wouldn't it, in the sake of spreading genes, if that was all it accounted for, make more sense to go out for him and have, like, leave the child and just have 5 or 6 more kids? And yet, I don't see that happening a lot. I see a lot of parents doing a lot for their children, making sure they're safe. That's not terribly selfish, not really.
Nausicaa just shrugs. I believe Elijah is better at evolutionary science. Maybe we should ask him for the reason.
That might be true.
Perhaps you're right, though. Perhaps some people act out of a genuine feeling of altruism. I would like to get back to my work now, Julie, but I'm glad that we are no longer in conflict.
Me too. Right. Do you mind if I finish up, like, do a little bit of meditation here? I won't make a sound.
If you're quiet, then I see no problem with that.
All right. And, yeah. Julie will just smile at her, just get up, and she'll just say, "Good talk. I'll be warming up the hug until, well, some point in the future."
That's good. Just nods. And, yeah, gets back to her equations.
And, yeah, Julie will get, like, move to a different couch away from Nausicaa, and she will just again assume this lotus position and seems to just close her eyes and sit there for quite a while, just seeming to relax. And as both of them continue to their, quote, work, I do believe that this is the moment we will end our scene. Thank you very much, players, for playing, and watchers for watching. Good night.